What if I told you? The future version of you is not waiting somewhere ahead in time. It's already here, not as a dream, not as motivation, but as a quantum reality. Right now, there is a version of you that already survived what you're afraid of, already made the decisions you're hesitating over, already stepped out of the identity that feels too small. And the reason your life feels strange lately, why old habits don't satisfy you, why silence feels heavier than noise, why something inside you keeps saying, this phase is ending, is because time doesn't move the way you were taught. Quantum physics reveals something unsettling. The future doesn't come toward you. It collapses into the present, the moment you are ready to become the observer. So if you feel restless, disconnected, or quietly pulled toward a version of yourself you can't explain, this video isn't here to motivate you. It's here to explain what already started, because the future you isn't approaching. The future you has already arrived. You were taught a lie so early that it feels natural now. That time moves forward in a straight line, past behind you, future ahead of you, present as a thin, fragile moment you're barely able to hold. But quantum physics quietly dismantles that entire idea. At the deepest level of reality, time is not a road you walk down, it's a field you exist inside. The past doesn't disappear, the future doesn't wait. They coexist as probabilities, layered on top of each other, influencing what you experience right now. This is why moments in your life sometimes feel out of order. You feel nostalgia for something that hasn't happened yet. You feel exhausted by lessons you haven't consciously lived. You feel called toward a version of yourself you haven't logically become. That's not confusion. That's future memory leaking into the present. In quantum mechanics, particles don't decide where they are until they are observed. Before that moment, they exist as possibilities. Your life works the same way. Multiple versions of you exist simultaneously, the one who stayed small, the one who stayed afraid, and the one who transcended everything that tried to limit them. When your awareness begins to shift, you start collapsing toward a different timeline. This is why your old routines suddenly feel meaningless, why repeating the same conversations drains you, why forcing motivation no longer works. You are not lazy. You are misaligned with an outdated timeline. Your future self isn't somewhere far away. That version of you already exists, calm, disciplined, grounded, clear. And as your present awareness grows, the distance between you and that version begins to shrink. Quantum physics calls this non-locality, information influencing reality across distance and time without traveling through space. Translation: your future self can influence your current decisions before you consciously understand why. That sudden urge to change your habits, that quiet refusal to tolerate what you once accepted, that feeling that something is ending even though nothing external has collapsed yet. Those are signals. You are not starting a journey forward. You are remembering who you already became. And once awareness reaches a certain threshold, time stops feeling like pressure and starts feeling like alignment. This is why rushing feels wrong now. This is why forcing outcomes exhausts you. Because the future you doesn't run toward life. Life moves toward them. Lesson 1 is not about waiting. It's about realizing that the future version of you is already present, and the only thing left is to match their frequency. Once you understand this, everything changes. What you're feeling right now isn't confusion. It isn't anxiety without a cause. And it definitely isn't weakness. It's misalignment. When your future self begins to arrive, your nervous system detects the change before your mind can explain it. That's why discomfort shows up first. Not as chaos, but as a quiet irritation with everything that used to feel normal. You wake up and something feels off. Not wrong, just too small. Your routines feel hollow. Your conversations feel repetitive. Your old goals feel strangely irrelevant. This is not burnout. This is timeline friction. In quantum systems, when a particle transitions from one state to another, there is a brief phase of instability. Energy rearranges. Old structures lose coherence. The system becomes uncomfortable before it stabilizes into a new form. You are in that phase. Your discomfort is not asking you to escape. It's asking you to update. Notice how your tolerance is shrinking. Things you once endured now feel unbearable. Noise feels heavier. Drama feels pointless. Pretending feels exhausting. That's because the future version of you does not survive by tolerating misalignment. They survive by refusing it. Discomfort is the body's way of saying, this environment no longer supports who you're becoming. And here's the dangerous mistake most people make. They try to numb the signal. They distract themselves. They force old habits. They chase stimulation. They blame themselves for not feeling motivated. But quantum transitions cannot be numbed. They must be completed. If you ignore the discomfort, it intensifies. If you fight it, it drains you. If you listen to it, it guides you. Your future self is not comfortable where you are now. And that discomfort is intentional. It's a pressure system designed to move you without panic. A quiet push instead of a violent shove. This is why rest feels necessary now. Why solitude feels clarifying. Why slowing down feels more powerful than pushing harder. You are not falling apart. You are recalibrating. And the moment you stop asking, what's wrong with me? And start asking, what is this preparing me for? The discomfort stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like direction. Your future self doesn't arrive with comfort first. It arrives with truth. And truth always feels uncomfortable, right before it sets you free. There is a principle in quantum physics that feels almost impossible the first time you hear it. Reality does not fully exist until it is observed. At the quantum level, particles behave like waves of possibility. They don't choose a definite state until something observes them. The act of observation itself collapses probability into reality. Now listen carefully. This isn't just physics. This is happening in your life. The moment you began to see yourself differently, something shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. You stopped seeing yourself only as the person reacting to circumstances and started sensing yourself as someone who moves through them. That change in perception is not cosmetic. It is structural. When you observe yourself as capable, grounded, disciplined, calm, your behavior reorganizes automatically. You don't need motivation. You don't need force. Your actions start aligning without conscious effort. This is why forcing change feels heavy, but identity change feels natural. Your future self didn't arrive by effort. It arrived by observation. You began watching your thoughts instead of believing them. You began noticing emotions instead of drowning in them. You began pausing instead of reacting. That pause is power. In quantum terms, awareness creates coherence, and coherence shapes outcomes. The more consistently you observe yourself as the future version, the one who chooses restraint over impulse, clarity over chaos, alignment over approval, the more reality responds by matching that observation. This is why some doors are opening without struggle, why some problems are resolving themselves, why certain people are drifting away without confrontation. Reality is updating to match the observer you have become. And here's the key most people miss. You don't become your future self by trying to act like them. You become them by seeing yourself as them, even when nothing external has changed yet. The observer comes first. The evidence follows. That's why self-doubt feels louder right before a breakthrough. It's the last resistance of an identity that is losing dominance. Once you cross a certain threshold of self-observation, reality can't ignore it anymore. The world adjusts. The timeline collapses. And the future self stabilizes. You are not imagining this shift. You are witnessing it into existence. And the more calmly you observe, the faster it becomes real. What you are feeling right now isn't fear of the future. It's grief for a version of you that is quietly dissolving. No one warns you about this part. Everyone talks about becoming more. No one talks about who you must stop being. When your future self begins to take form, the old identity cannot remain intact. Quantum systems do not stack identities on top of each other. They collapse one state to stabilize another. That collapse feels like loss. You may feel detached from the person you used to be. Old memories feel distant, like they happened to someone else. Old coping mechanisms don't work anymore. Even your own voice in your head sounds unfamiliar. This is not emptiness. This is identity death. The version of you that survived by overthinking, by pleasing, by reacting, by staying small to stay safe. That version cannot exist in the frequency your future self requires. And the mind resists this deeply because identity feels like safety. Even painful identities feel familiar. Even limiting patterns feel predictable. So, when they begin to dissolve, the mind panics and asks, "Who am I without this? What happens if I let this go? Why don't I feel like myself anymore?" But that question is the proof. You don't feel like yourself because you're not meant to. You are between identities. In physics, when matter changes state solid to liquid, liquid to gas, there is a moment where the structure breaks down before a new one forms. That unstable phase is unavoidable. You are in that phase. This is why people misunderstand you now. Why your energy feels different. Why your silence feels heavier than your words ever did. You are no longer performing an identity. You are shedding it. And shedding feels like death. Before it feels like freedom. Here's what matters most. Do not rush to replace the old identity. If you cling to who you were, you delay who you're becoming. If you try to define the new self too early, you limit it. Let the space exist. Stillness is not absence. It is reconstruction. Your future self is not built by force. It emerges once the old structure fully collapses. This phase does not mean you are lost. It means you are unavailable to your past. And once identity death completes, something incredible happens. You stop trying to become. You simply are. That is when the future self fully steps forward. There comes a point in every quantum shift where reality stops whispering and starts repeating itself. You hear the same message from different people. You encounter the same idea in books, videos, conversations. Numbers, symbols, phrases, themes begin to follow you. And the rational mind rushes in to say, "It's just coincidence." But coincidence is a word we use when we don't yet understand the pattern. In quantum physics, systems that are aligned begin to communicate through correlation rather than direct cause and effect. When two particles become entangled, what happens to one is reflected in the other. No signal sent, no effort made. Your life works the same way. When your internal state reaches a certain coherence, the external world begins to mirror it automatically, not to convince you, but to confirm you. Synchronistic events are not instructions. They are feedback. They tell you, you are locked into this trajectory now. That's why these moments feel strangely calm instead of exciting. They don't feel lucky. They feel inevitable. You don't celebrate them the way you used to. You notice them and keep moving. That's the signature of alignment. The universe does not scream when you're on the right path. It nods. And this is where many people misunderstand the process. They chase signs. They wait for permission. They ask the universe to show them something again. But repetition is not reassurance. It's confirmation that you no longer need reassurance. Once synchronistic patterns appear, the decision has already been made at a deeper level. Your future self has stabilized enough to influence the present consistently. This is why forcing clarity feels unnecessary now. Why certainty feels quieter. Why trust replaces urgency. Reality is no longer testing you. It's responding to you. The only mistake at this stage is hesitation. Not because something bad will happen, but because hesitation delays embodiment. Synchronistic moments are not meant to be analyzed endlessly. They are meant to be walked through. When patterns repeat, it's not asking, "Do you believe yet?" It's saying, "Proceed." And the more you move forward without needing proof, the more effortlessly reality arranges itself around you. That is how you know the future self is no longer approaching. It has already arrived. One of the most unsettling signs that your future self has arrived is not excitement. It's not motivation. It's not confidence. It's emotional quiet. Things that once triggered you deeply, now land and pass. Criticism doesn't sting the same. Chaos doesn't pull you in. Drama feels distant, almost irrelevant. And for a moment, This can feel wrong. You might ask yourself, why don't I care like I used to? Why am I not reacting? Why does everything feel muted? But this isn't numbness. This is emotional authority. In quantum physics, systems with higher coherence are less affected by external noise. Random fluctuations don't destabilize them. They absorb disturbances without collapsing. Your nervous system is doing the same thing. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming stable. Your past self survived by reacting. Reacting kept you alert. Reacting kept you protected. Reacting made you feel in control. But reaction is a survival strategy, and survival is no longer your primary mode. The future version of you does not waste energy responding to every stimulus. It selects. It filters. It pauses. That pause is everything, because in that pause, you are no longer owned by the moment. Notice what's changing. You feel emotions fully, but they don't hijack you. You acknowledge disappointment, but it doesn't spiral. You observe anger, but it doesn't control your actions. This is not suppression. This is integration. Your emotions are no longer commanding you. They are reporting to you. And this shift can feel deeply uncomfortable at first because your identity was once built around intensity, around feeling deeply, reacting quickly, engaging constantly. Silence can feel like emptiness when you're used to noise. But here's the truth. Your future self does not burn energy on unnecessary emotional loops. They conserve it. They channel it. They deploy it deliberately. That's why you're feeling slower but clearer, calmer but sharper, less reactive but more decisive. This is a nervous system upgrade. In quantum terms, you are moving from a chaotic state to a coherent one. And coherence doesn't announce itself loudly. It stabilizes quietly. This is why some people may say, "You've changed. You're distant. You don't seem the same." They are correct. You are no longer emotionally available to environments that thrive on reaction. And here's the part most people misunderstand. When reactions disappear, power returns. Because nothing can manipulate you if it cannot trigger you. Nothing can control you if it cannot rush you. Nothing can destabilize you if it cannot provoke you. Your future self does not dominate situations by force. They dominate by presence. This is why silence feels heavier now. Why walking away feels stronger than arguing. Why doing nothing feels more strategic than doing everything. You are no longer rehearsing emotional responses. You are responding from alignment or not at all. And that is not weakness. That is the clearest sign that the handoff is underway. Your future self is taking the controls. Not with urgency, not with emotion, but with precision. This phase is not about feeling more. It's about feeling less so you can do more. And once this stabilization completes, nothing external will be able to pull you back into the old emotional gravity, because you don't live there anymore. One of the quietest yet most powerful signs that your future self has arrived is this. You no longer feel the urge to explain yourself. Not your decisions. Not your silence, not your boundaries, not your growth. Where once you felt the need to justify, clarify, defend, or convince, now there is simply stillness. And at first, this can feel uncomfortable, because explaining yourself once felt like survival. It felt like safety. It felt like control. You explained so people wouldn't misunderstand you, so they wouldn't leave, so they wouldn't judge you, so you wouldn't be seen as wrong. But that need is dissolving now, and that's not accidental. In quantum systems, states with low coherence constantly interact with their environment to stabilize themselves. They react, they signal, they compensate, but highly coherent systems don't do this. They are self-stabilizing. Your future self is self-stabilizing. You no longer need external agreement to feel internally aligned. You no longer need permission to trust your own knowing. You no longer need to narrate your journey to validate it. This is why words are leaving you. Not because you have nothing to say, but because nothing needs to be said. Notice how arguments feel pointless now, how explaining drains you, how oversharing feels heavy instead of relieving. That's because explanation belongs to an identity that still needs confirmation. Your future self doesn't operate from, "Do you understand me?" They operate from, "I understand myself." And here's the deeper truth. The more you explain yourself, the more you anchor yourself to the past version of you, the one who needed to be understood in order to exist. Silence, on the other hand, belongs to authority. Not loud authority, not dominant authority, but grounded authority, the kind that doesn't seek attention, the kind that doesn't fear misunderstanding, the kind that knows alignment does not require agreement. This is why your boundaries are firmer now but quieter, why you walk away without closure, why you let people believe whatever they want. You are no longer managing perceptions. You are managing energy, and energy doesn't need explanation. There's a subtle grief that can arise here. You may realize that some people only knew the version of you that explained, the version that justified, the version that softened itself to be accepted. When that version disappears, relationships either evolve or dissolve. And that's not cruelty. That's quantum selection. Only what resonates with your current frequency can remain. Your future self understands this intuitively. They don't chase understanding. They allow resonance. This is why you feel less reactive to being misunderstood. Why false assumptions don't provoke you. Why you no longer rush to correct the narrative. Truth doesn't argue. It stands. And when you stop explaining yourself, something incredible happens. People either rise to meet you, or they fade away. Both outcomes are correct, because your future self does not build life by convincing others. They build it by being so aligned that explanation becomes unnecessary. This lesson is not about becoming distant. It's about becoming rooted. Rooted people don't shout their truth. They live it. And the moment you realize you don't owe clarity to everyone, you reclaim an enormous amount of power. That's when the future self fully settles in. Not announced, not defended, just present. One of the most confusing moments in a quantum shift is when desire itself begins to change. Not gradually, not logically, but suddenly. Things you once wanted badly. Status, validation, urgency, recognition, certain goals, certain people. They don't pull you anymore. And this can feel terrifying, because desire once gave you direction. It gave you energy. It gave you identity. So when it fades, the mind panics and asks, why don't I want anything the way I used to? Am I losing ambition? Am I becoming empty? But this is not emptiness. This is deactivation. In quantum systems, when a new stable state is forming, unnecessary pathways are automatically shut down. Energy stops flowing toward outcomes that no longer belong to the system's final configuration. Your psyche is doing the same thing. Old desires are not disappearing because you failed to reach them. They're disappearing because you've already outgrown the version of you that wanted them. Many of your past desires were born from lack, from proving, from escaping, from being seen, from being safe. Your future self does not move from lack. They move from alignment. So desires rooted in insecurity, urgency, or comparison cannot survive in this frequency. They lose charge, they dissolve. And here's the uncomfortable part no one prepares you for. There is a gap between old desires dying and new ones becoming clear. A quiet space, a neutral zone, a period where you don't crave much of anything. This is where most people sabotage themselves. They rush to fill the silence. They force goals. They chase stimulation. They return to old cravings just to feel alive again. But that gap is sacred. That space is where the future self finishes installing. Think of it this way. Your old operating system is shutting down. The new one is loading. And during loading, the screen goes dark. Dark does not mean broken. Dark means transition. Your future self doesn't want many things. They want the right things. But those desires are quieter, deeper, more precise. They don't scream. They don't beg. They don't rush. They wait until you are still enough to hear them. This is why boredom may appear now, why restlessness tries to creep in, why the mind urges you to do something, but nothing is wrong. Your desire system is recalibrating from impulse-based to purpose-based. And once that recalibration completes, something incredible happens. You stop chasing. You stop forcing. You stop scattering energy. You move when it's time. You act when it's aligned. You choose with clarity instead of hunger. The future self does not want more. They want what fits. So if you feel uninterested in things that once consumed you, do not judge it. Do not pathologize it. Do not try to revive it. Let it decleanly. Because only when old desires fully deactivate can new, truer ones come online. This lesson is not about losing passion. It's about upgrading the source of passion. And once the new desires arrive, you'll recognize them immediately. They won't feel urgent. They won't feel desperate. They'll feel inevitable. That's how you know the future self is fully present. There is a moment in every deep transformation where life slows down so much that it feels suspicious. The chaos reduces. The urgency disappears. The constant movement stops. And the mind panics. It whispers, "Nothing is happening. You're falling behind. You should be doing more." But this quiet is not delay. It is training. In quantum physics, before a system can produce a powerful, stable outcome, it must reduce noise. Random motion must collapse into coherence. Without stillness, precision is impossible. Your life is entering that phase. This is why days feel slower now. Why dramatic highs and lows are fading. Why you feel less compelled to fill every moment. Your future self does not move reactively. They move exactly when required. Stillness is where that precision is learned. You are being trained to feel the difference between impulse and intuition, between urgency and alignment, between motion and direction. In a noisy life, everything feels important. In a quiet life, only the essential remains. That's what stillness does. It strips away false urgency and leaves only what matters. This is why your attention is sharpening. Why you notice subtle shifts. Why you sense when something is off before it collapses. Stillness refines perception, and refined perception creates leverage. Your future self doesn't rush because they see further. They don't panic because they understand timing. They don't overcommit because they sense consequences early. All of that is learned here. This phase may feel like isolation at times, but it's actually containment. Energy is being conserved. Focus is being concentrated. Your internal signal is being strengthened. If you disrupt this phase by forcing activity, you dilute the training. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the preparation for accurate movement, like an archer holding the bow steady before release, like a predator waiting without tension before the strike. Power is calm right before it moves. This is also why you're being pulled towards solitude. Not loneliness, but selective presence. Your system cannot calibrate in constant stimulation. Silence is the tuning room. And once tuning completes, you won't need to think as much. Decisions will feel obvious. Actions will feel clean. No overthinking. No second guessing. No wasted energy. This is the advantage of stillness. It turns movement into execution. So, if your life feels unusually quiet right now, do not label it as stagnation. You are being trained to move once and correctly. Your future self does not rush into opportunities. Opportunities align themselves to them, and that alignment is learned here, in the quiet. One of the most uncomfortable realizations in this phase is this: the harder you try to control things, the worse they feel. Plans don't respond the way they used to. Forcing outcomes drains you instead of empowering you. Even well-intended effort feels strangely misaligned. This isn't failure. This is control being systematically dismantled. In quantum physics, systems don't respond to force the way classical systems do. You can't push a quantum system into coherence. You can only allow coherence to emerge by reducing interference. Your life is operating on that same principle now. The version of you that relied on control planning every step, anticipating every outcome, managing every reaction, was necessary for survival. Control created predictability. Predictability created safety. But survival is not the frequency your future self operates from. Your future self functions from coherence, not control. Coherence is when your thoughts, emotions, decisions, and actions point in the same direction without force. Nothing contradicts itself internally. Nothing pulls you apart. And here's the key. Control tries to override reality. Coherence allows reality to reorganize itself. This is why surrender feels different now. It's not giving up. It's stopping interference. When you stop micromanaging, patterns become visible. When you stop forcing timing, alignment reveals itself. When you stop chasing certainty, certainty stabilizes internally. This is deeply counterintuitive, especially if you built your identity around effort. The mind screams, "If I don't push, nothing will happen." But quantum reality responds differently. When coherence increases, things happen with less effort and more precision. This is why doors open unexpectedly now. Why solutions appear without struggle. Why people move in and out of your life without confrontation. You are no longer dragging reality forward. You are letting it converge. And that requires trust, not blind trust. Trust rooted in awareness. You've already done the internal work. Your nervous system has already stabilized. Your identity has already shifted. Control is now unnecessary and therefore counterproductive. This phase teaches a difficult lesson. The more aligned you are, the less you need to push. Your future self does not dominate life. They cooperate with it. And cooperation is not passive. It requires presence. It requires listening. It requires restraint. Surrender here does not mean doing nothing. It means doing less but better. You'll notice that when you let go of control, timing improves. Decisions feel cleaner. Outcomes feel inevitable rather than fought for. This is coherence at work. In coherent systems, the whole moves together. There is no internal conflict, no wasted motion, no contradiction. Your life is being tuned into that state. And yes, this feels terrifying at first, because control once made you feel safe. But coherence makes you effective. Once this lesson integrates, you stop asking, "How do I make this happen?" and start asking, "How do I stay aligned so this can happen through me?" That shift changes everything. The future self doesn't arrive by force. They arrive when you stop interfering with who you already are becoming. And once control releases its grip, reality does something remarkable. It starts moving faster, without feeling rushed. That is the power of coherence. And that is why control had to go. There comes a moment in every irreversible shift when the mind tries one last escape. It whispers softly, "Maybe I should go back. Maybe it was easier before. Maybe I should return to who I was." But something inside you already knows the truth. You can remember the past. You can visit it in thought, but you cannot re-enter it. And this is not punishment. This is mercy. In quantum systems, once a state collapses into a more stable configuration, reversal is not possible without enormous energy, and even then, the system never returns to its original form. The past state becomes informational, not experiential. Your life works the same way. The identity you used to inhabit has already lost coherence. The nervous system that once reacted has stabilized. The awareness that once slept has awakened. You are no longer compatible with the old timeline. That's why returning feels empty. Why old habits feel hollow. Why familiar environments feel foreign. It's not that they changed. You did. And here's the part that hurts. The mind mourns what the soul outgrew. You may grieve relationships that can no longer meet you. You may miss the simplicity of not knowing. You may long for the version of you that didn't see so much. But regression is not rest. Going back would not bring peace. It would bring conflict. Because once awareness expands, ignorance is no longer comfortable. This is why attempts to go back to normal feel exhausting. Why pretending drains you. Why shrinking yourself hurts more than growing ever did. The door behind you did not close to trap you. It closed to protect you from dissolving your own evolution. And yes, there is loneliness here. Not because you are alone, but because fewer people occupy this frequency. Fewer conversations feel nourishing. Fewer paths feel authentic. But loneliness is temporary. Misalignment would be permanent. Your future self understands this instinctively. They don't romanticize the past. They don't demonize it either. They honor it and move forward. This lesson asks you to release one final illusion, that you could have the growth and the comfort of who you used to be. You can't. But what you gain is far greater. You gain integrity. You gain inner agreement. You gain the relief of not betraying yourself anymore. Once this lesson integrates, resistance stops. You stop fighting the pull forward. You stop bargaining with old identities. You stop asking whether you should return. You don't need to burn bridges. You don't need to announce endings. You simply walk on. And the moment you stop trying to go back, something extraordinary happens. The future opens fully, not as a dramatic breakthrough, but as a quiet, stable sense of, this is where I belong. That is mercy, not being forced to repeat what no longer fits. The past served its purpose. It does not get to define your destination, and the future self does not look back. Not because they are cold, but because they are finally free. There is no dramatic moment when the future self officially arrives. No announcement, no explosion, no final test. The handoff happens quietly. One day, you realize you're no longer asking the same questions. You're no longer reacting the same way. You're no longer negotiating with yourself. Decisions feel calmer. Boundaries feel natural. Silence feels complete instead of empty. This is how you know the handoff has begun. In quantum transitions, when one state fully stabilizes, control does not switch violently, it shifts smoothly. The system doesn't notice the moment because resistance has already dissolved. Your life is in that moment now. The future you is not taking over by force. They're stepping in because the old version has stepped aside. You don't need to try to be them anymore. You don't need to remember lessons consciously. You don't need to rehearse strength. You are the person who learned. This is why effort feels unnecessary now. Why proving feels pointless. Why overthinking feels exhausting. The future self operates from trust. Not optimism, not belief, but embodied trust. Trust in timing. Trust in restraint. Trust in alignment. And here is the most important realization of all. Your job is no longer to push forward. Your job is to not interfere. Walk when it's time to walk. Speak when it's time to speak. Rest when it's time to rest. The future self leads through presence, not pressure. This is also why life may begin moving faster now, without feeling rushed. Opportunities align instead of being chased. People appear instead of being pursued. Decisions resolve instead of dragging on. Because the leader inside you is no longer anxious. This is not the end of growth. It's the end of friction. You will still face challenges. You will still evolve, but you will do so from stability, not survival. The handoff means you stop micromanaging your becoming. You let the version of you who already understands handle what comes next. And once you allow that, something profound settles in. Peace. Not the kind that comes from comfort. The kind that comes from inner agreement. Nothing inside you is fighting anymore. That is the sign. The future you is not ahead of you. They are here. And now, let them lead. If this video felt personal, that's because it was never meant to be random. You didn't find this message. You arrived at it. Nothing you're experiencing right now is accidental. The quiet, the distance, the inner shift you can't explain, those aren't signs of loss. They're signs of alignment. You're not becoming someone new. You're remembering who you already are. So don't rush. Don't force clarity. Don't try to go back. What's unfolding doesn't need pressure. It needs trust. Walk slower. Choose cleaner. Listen deeper. Because the future version of you is no longer ahead in time. They're here. They're steady. They're ready. And from this moment on, the only thing left to do is let them lead.